Tired of feeling like you're spinning all the plates in your design business and at any moment they could all come crashing down? Are you feeling like you're so close to breaking through to the next level, but those consistent projects still aren't flowing your way? Are you ready to finally take your business from a hobby to 100K and beyond? Then welcome to the Six Figure Designer Podcast. I'm talking all the techniques you need in your design business to start paying yourself, get great clients, and finally break through that 5-figure ceiling. Well, hey everyone, thanks so much for being here again for another episode of the Six Figure Designer Podcast. I'm your host, Pam Durkin. I am also known as the closing coach for interior designers, and you're wondering, why is that? Well, we just finished up the Rapid Referrals Challenge. If you didn't hear me talk about it, we're going to be talking a little bit about it in this episode this week, but I helped designers identify their key referral sources, and then they could start reaching out to them, and many of them did. But that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning, because once you get that great referral on the phone, you want to know how you can close them. And then the other thing is, even before that, do you know how to qualify them to know that they're really going to be a great fit for you? Then subsequently, how do we close those ones that you are so excited to get, those projects that you really, really want? I help you with that gap between the phone ringing and getting signed by a client. I help you close that so that you can get more of those projects that you want. So this is the biggest reason I started the Luxury Client Academy. If you've been struggling to find clients and close clients in your business, in your design business, then you need to check out my 9-month coaching experience. I help you triple your profits with measurable results, again, so you can get those projects that you've been wanting. So many of you have talked about shedding those 1 and 2 room projects and moving on to full home projects, whether it be renovations or new builds, but you're just itching to get those big projects. If you want to do that and you have not been able to figure it out, then you need to be checking out the Luxury Client Academy. All that information is in the show notes, where you can see all the details. And if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to me about that. So I want to talk a little bit about something that came up recently, where I ran the Rapid Referrals Challenge just a week or so ago, and something really interesting came up, a really interesting fear. But first I want to let you know that it was so popular and the students I had in there were so incredible that I've already decided to run another Rapid Referrals Challenge. So if you missed it and you've got Major League FOMO, then you need to go ahead again and check out the show notes. We're going to have another one. It's going to be a 2-day challenge, May 14th and 15th. It's a Wednesday and a Thursday. And this one I did later in the day. Some of you couldn't make that early time that I did. So we pushed the time to later in the day. So go ahead and check it out. If you kind of were bumming that you missed it, we're going to be running another one again. So in the challenge, we talked about knowing what kind of jobs you're looking for. And when I ask every designer out there, they're going to say, of course, I know what kind of jobs I'm looking for. And then you go and ask them, and the answers kind of meander. They maybe talk about 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different kinds of jobs they're looking for. And we definitely made them in the challenge pick one, because first of all, we only have 2 days together, so we need to figure that out. And we need to figure out who the referral sources are best for that type of work. But then thinking about your own business, if you have 4 or 5 different kind of projects that you want to be working on, but you're struggling with getting a steady stream of projects, then I'm going to tell you, as your new bestie here, let's get real, as your coach, that you're going to need to focus on one. And the reason is because once you understand the process and you can get that ball rolling, yes, then you can move on to other things. And of course, if projects come along and the phone rings and it's something you want to do and it's not this one item that you've talked about, take it. I'm not saying don't take it, but I'm telling you, having a focus on the types of project or the type of project that you want most, that you want to be working on most, that is the most fulfilling, the most profitable, the most available in your area. That's what we should be focusing on, because it lets all that other noise kind of drop away so that you really know what you should be working on. And each of these different areas. So the designers in the challenge had told me things like, I like new builds and renovations and commercial, and I want to do branding, and they just went on and on and on. That's great to be somebody who has all those interesting ideas and places that they want to work. But you have to realize they all have different approaches in how you market your services and who you talk to about your services. And when it's a struggle to get that steady stream of business, we need to be focusing on one. Where do we deep dive into? Who are we looking at? What's the type of projects we're looking for? Because it gets chaotic, as you probably are experiencing. You know, if you want to do commercial and residential at the same time and you want to build both of those, markets, you have to be talking to several different types of people. You got to be talking to, commercial builders, commercial realtors, maybe getting involved in certain kind of networking groups just for commercial design. And then you got to be doing residential. If you want to do that type of work, then it's a different set of builders, generally, different set of realtors, different set of networking groups. How many places can you be at one time if you're not able to carve out 15 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day to work on networking and marketing in your business for one area? How are you going to do that for multiple? So I'm going to tell you that we want to pick one area to focus on, the one that gives you the most fulfillment, that has the most profitability, the one that's most realistic in your area. And then we're going to dial it down from there. So that was one thing that actually interestingly came up in the challenge. But the second thing that came up that really surprised me is the fear of picking one. That was a really big aha moment for so many in the challenge. So as we were going through and picking the one thing that was the best area to focus on for these next 2 days, and even I'm going to tell you long beyond that, in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months in your business, this is going to really help you also develop those key referral partners. So when you're talking to a key referral partner, which is somebody in your world that can refer you multiple projects. So we love clients can give us referrals, but it's not consistent. It's not enough. We want to be spending time where we can get 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 referrals from one source and develop really strong relationships with one referral source. And then of course, get more of those. That's how you get to a steady stream of opportunities. So as you're going and ferreting those people out, we talk about the ask and the give. And so the first thing is you want to ask through your referral partner, hey, what is your sweet spot client? And I talk about this in the very last episode, is what do you, who do you ideally want, right? And then you can talk about what you're looking for in your business. It gives so much clarity as to who they're going to be sending your way. So many times you get, lots of activity on your website or in phone calls or in emails, and they're just not the right fit. And referral partners want to help, but we want to give them the parameters and the boundaries for the types of work that we want to be doing. And when I approached the designers in the challenge and said, well, what kind of work do you want? This is when we went off the rails a little bit. There was a lot of fear around picking an area of expertise, an area that they wanted to bring in more projects, because there was fear. And the fear was, I'm afraid to limit myself. I'm afraid to push people away or tell people that that's not the type of work that I want to do. Believe you me, if your phone rings and you get a project or an opportunity that's in an area that's not your normal area, and it's something that looks great, it looks profitable, you've qualified the client, it's something you can manage, it's something you can make money on, it's something you're excited about, by all means, take it, take the project. But I want you to be thinking about the majority. So you heard the 80-20 rule, right? The majority of your projects, the 80% of your projects are going to be in one area, more than likely going to be in one area. And as you do more and more of those types of projects, you become more and more of an expert. And when you become more and more of an expert, you can get those projects done so much faster because now you know the vendors, you know the details, you know how this project's going to move along. What has to happen? What's in your checklist? What do you have to be thinking about? As you get better at that, you can A, charge more because now you're an expert because you have all these projects under your belt. And B, you can get them done faster, which is much higher profitability. So I want you to be thinking about niching is actually, it's freedom. We are not limiting ourselves, but we're actually giving us more profitability and more freedom. So I have a coaching client currently who was taking on everything. I went and did a deep dive in her website, which is part of the Luxury Client Academy, is we look at what's going on. And what she had told me was there's a disconnect. Well, actually, she didn't tell me there was a disconnect. She said something weird's happening. I'm getting all these inquiries on my website, but they don't have the budget for the types of projects that I want to do, which are full scope design. And what she was doing was she was actually, I think in a 1 week or 2 week period, she got 9 inquiries. And she was literally palpitating because she's like, I don't know what to do with these 9 people. None of them have the budget that I need for full scope design. But interestingly enough, she was trying to get on the phone with them and convince them that they needed full scope design. And full scope design is in a whole different league than what these people said that they had to spend. And so what was happening is she was stressing out about how am I going to push these people into full scope design? How I'm going to convince them to do full scope design when they're only willing to spend $5,000. And as we talked about it, I said, you have a disconnect here. The disconnect is one, that you're trying to push people who are not interested in full scope design into full scope design. That was the first thing. All those people, 100% of those people were looking for advice. They were not looking for the minimum $10,000 fee that she was looking to do. They only even had $5,000 to spend. So they weren't even a good fit for full scope design. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that her questions on her website were a bit confusing. So as we figured out what was happening, what's the gap here? Why are you getting all these inquiries? And then why are we trying to get them into full scope design and sort of stressing about it? And as I did a little dive into her website and the way she was structuring it, the way she was talking about her services, the questions she was asking, we realized there was a gap there. And once we made a change to the questions on her website, which basically so simple, but very clearly said, if you don't have 3 or 4 or more rooms to work on for this project, you are not a good candidate for full scope design, but you could be a great candidate for our designer for a day program. We literally made that change. And believe me, she was very hesitant to do it. She was very worried about it. She said, I don't know. And it took a couple weeks for us to, talk it through, for me to convince her to make this change. So she finally made the change on her website. And I'm telling you, within 3 or 4 days, she had 3 incredible opportunities come through her website for full scope design services. And they all had 4 or more rooms They all had nice budgets. Now there's some qualifying process that happens after the fact, but if you want to get the big swath on your website in terms of like this is for you if and this is not for you if, then you need to be doing that. So as we saw that she was being kind of unclear and wishy-washy and then hoping to convince people to go into full scope design, we realized that people were getting confused as to where they fit. So we figured out a way to help them self-select initially so that she was getting a lot less inquiries for full scope design. Well, actually, she was getting really nice inquiries for full scope design, but they were much more qualified. And so it was a much better fit. So I'm asking you, are you possibly being unclear as well? Are you afraid to go ahead and, mark your line in the sand to say, these are the types of projects I prefer to work on, that I want to work on? Whole house projects that include, and when we can't just say whole house, because we don't want the client to figure out what whole house means. We want to say that's a minimum number of X rooms, right? 3 or 4 rooms, 3 or 4 or 5 rooms, whatever it is. That really helps them self-select and then say, hey, if you don't have that, you might be a perfect fit for this other service. If you have a secondary service that's designer for a day or a room service or something like that, that could be a great way to say, you might not be a good fit for this, but we have this other option for you. And I want you to be thinking, like, are you being somewhat unclear? The other thing I did during the challenge is I actually checked out everyone's websites ahead of time because I wanted to get to know each of the people in the challenge. And it was very, very interesting. I noticed there was a little bit, again, of a disconnect between what people said their ideal clients were and what they were actually talking about on their website. And when I asked them, who do you want to be working with, they weren't as pointed as they maybe were on their website. So I want you to go ahead and check out your own website. Again, if you want to be part of the Luxury Client Academy, I will be looking at all of that for you and helping you see that. Sometimes it's really hard to see what's going on in our own business because we're super close to it. And I have that outside perspective. So if you're interested in that Luxury Client Academy and that experience where we do a deep dive into your business, which includes your financials, how you're presenting yourself, your website, and those sorts of things, then check out the links in the show notes. So as we moved through just getting clearer on the niche, that's where the freedom came in. So many of you were worried about that you were going to limit, that you were going to turn people away, that you were going to tell people that they were not a good fit for you. And I know it feels so unnatural to be like, I don't want to work with everyone. I'm not a good fit for everyone. But we all say that behind closed doors, that we know who we want to be working with. We have that ideal in our minds, but we just don't talk about it. So I want you to be looking at that and saying, am I being a little bit unclear or a little afraid to really dive deep into the type of work that I want to be doing? Now, you guys may also think, interior design, it's either residential, commercial, those are the only two. I honestly think that there's, 2 different verticals or 2 different ways to approach if you're doing renovations, if you're doing new home builds, or if you're doing straight decorating. Again, I feel that there's a lot of nuances there and we could really dive deep into that. So I want you to be thinking about very specifically, who is your ideal client and your ideal project? What do you want to be working on in your business? And it actually creates a lot of freedom because then we can get really focused instead of being like all over the place, trying to cover all the bases about the type of work that we want to do because it's all over the place. We can start to really deep dive into, I want to do just straight decorating projects. And then we can say, who are the people I should be talking to? Where are those referrals coming from? What kind of content can I be putting out there that is really speaking to that type of client? And we start to get, more and more pinpointed as to what to be talking about, what they're worried about, what they're looking to achieve, what those feelings are, what they want in those projects, and how we can help them. Oh my gosh, it makes things so much clearer. So take a look at your website, take a look at your information, see if you're being very vague in terms of we help everyone. We love everyone. We want to do everything. I don't want you to be doing that. I want you to be very clear as to we help this type of person do this type of thing. And hey, if this isn't you, then we might have another type of service, or we might not be the best fit for you. So I want you to be thinking about that, because that was one surprising fear that came up in the Rapid Referrals Challenge. So let's just talk about the Rapid Referrals Challenge. We, just finished that group. It's a 2-day challenge. We work together in the room where we identify your key referral partners. And if you don't know who those are, because I think everyone, 100% of the people in the room said they were getting all the referrals from clients. Again, it's great that clients send you referrals every once in a while, but if you're getting 100% referrals from clients and you're listening to this podcast, they're probably not coming in a steady enough fashion for you because they're sporadic, or maybe they're not the best fit. And we hate to turn away jobs from client referrals when they refer their friends, right? It makes us feel really, really uncomfortable because our clients and our clients' friends aren't always the same type of potential client. Just it has to do with, whether or not they have similar, philosophies about what design is and what it can do, and budget levels and all of that. So it gets really, really hard to tell a referral that came to you from a past client, hey, we're not a good fit. That's why I'm a big fan of these key referral partners. So you probably don't know who those are in your area. That's one of the things we figure out in the challenge. And we figure out who's the best referral partner for the type of work that you're doing, for the ideal work that you want to be doing. And when you're speaking to your key referral partners, as you start to develop these relationships, you want to be asking them, what kind of projects are they looking for? What is not just any project, right? What's their favorite? What is the types of projects they want to be doing more of? What are the types of people they like working with? It could be executives, it could be people relocating, it could be military families. Like, find out as much information as you can so that you know what they're looking for. And then in turn, they're going to say, well, what are you looking for? And I want you to be able to very clearly talk about the type of project that you're looking for, what your ideal is. It's not to say you won't take other things, but this is my, perfect client. This is my perfect situation. This is really what I'm looking to get more and more and more of, because I'm an expert in this area, because this is what I do 80% of the time. This is the type of work that I do. So if you've been struggling with trying to figure out how to get those steady stream of projects that get that phone to ring, then you need to be in the Rapid Referrals Challenge. I'm running that other one coming up in May. It's May 14th and 15th. So you got plenty of time to block it out on your calendar. And it is $19 for you to join the challenge. And the reason it's $19 is because I want you to be there. So many times I've run webinars and events, and people have come back to me afterwards and said, I had a contractor call me in the morning, so I had to change the meeting. Or I had a client call me the day before and wanted to meet with me, and so I went ahead and did that. I want you to be putting this date on your calendar, these 2 days on your calendar, as if it's a client meeting, as if it's the most important thing that you're doing that week in your business. Because I guarantee you, this will bring thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into your business, because you are going to walk away with an understanding of what you do, who you do it for, and what do they need from your services. It's a great way to spend 4 hours developing the next steps for your business. So we identify your key referral sources in the challenge, like the best ones for you in your area, so that we can figure out who you should be talking to. Then we craft the message that most appeals to them. So it's not what we think they want, but actually finding out what they're needing. What are they struggling with? What's the thing that no one else is really helping them with? And then how do our services match those needs? How do they meet those needs? And as we're crafting these very specific messages, these can be done via email, over the phone, or when you're networking with people. So the messaging is not going to really change based on how you're going to contact them. So if you happen to be meeting with someone, you can use all of these questions and just messages about how your product and your service really helps them with a need that's going on. So in the last challenge, everyone was so excited after day one. They literally were picking up the phone, sending emails, and contacting key referral sources even after day one. And they were doing things like just getting back in touch. Oh, I forgot. I talked to someone 6 months ago and we really wanted to do another project together. They had forgotten. Or they went and said, I've been meaning to set up a meeting with you or a lunch with you. Let's get that on the calendar. And then one of them was actually talking about planning a joint event. So that's what happened even after day one. Everyone got so excited about the potential of where these referral sources could go and how to spend that time in their business to really make a huge impact on the types of referrals that were coming their way, that they were picking up the phone, sending out emails right after day one. So if you've been needing the motivation, the accountability, or the words to say when it comes to actively looking for these great projects, then you need to be in the next Rapid Referrals Challenge. Client referrals are not going to help you grow your business consistently. So you need to spend your time where it really counts. And that's with those key referral sources. So if you're interested in the Rapid Referrals Challenge, go ahead and check out the show notes. If you are looking to go even further and join the Luxury Client Academy, again, information is in the show notes. Thanks you guys for listening. I hope you go back and look at all your websites and the content you're putting out there, and you get much more specific about the type of work that you're looking for and thinking about that as you're going out in the world and talking to key referral sources. I hope that you learned, if nothing else, you've learned that from today's episode, and I will see you next time. Take care.